Hello, thank you for joining CBS News Primetime. I'm John Dickerson. We start immediately tonight because it has happened again. The 48th mass shooting in the United States this year, Kansas City added to the awful list of place names. A Super Bowl celebration added to the list that includes worship services, school classes, 4th of July celebrations, places where gunfire turned joy to terror in an instant.
This is a time for a reckoning. Welcome to today's show. This is the type of video that normally goes up on the website, but I'm willing to roll the dice and take a chance here on YouTube because this channel is relatively brand new, so there aren't many eyeballs on it, but I put it on a time for a reckoning for a reason versus the other channel. Now, you need to understand that these events that occur are fake. You just heard the lead-in news report. What did the lead-in news report do? It began playing to your emotions that it's very unsafe to go to concerts. It's very unsafe to go to parades, churches, malls, grocery stores, 4th of July ceremonies. Because, of course, a random person with a gun could show up and kill everybody. But couldn't a random person with a knife show up and kill everybody? Yeah, of course, that could also happen. But this is all about gun grab, okay? And I'm going to show you a compilation here of clips that will show you that they are using a script. We have actors, crisis actors on the scene who are using the same talking points. We have some of the worst crisis acting we have ever seen. And I do not say that lightly, okay? I do not say that to throw that word out there. I don't get views anymore anyway. This is some of the worst and most laughable. There's duping delight all over the place. And of course, the newest narrative, 48 shootings in 45 days, something along those lines, that all of these people who happen to be at the scene, they seem to know that number. So let's start here. If you didn't see this is a live news report. Does this look like some type of act of terror or an active shooter? Of course not. Because what usually they do is the FBI, the CIA, whoever's organizing the operation, they will go into these events and shoot blanks. They will go into these events and put off, firecrackers or something along those lines. Because again, a lot of the people, the witnesses said they thought fireworks were going off. Yeah, I'm sure fireworks were going off because this is looking more like a hoax than an actual false flag. Look at the news reporter respond. I mean, people aren't running for their lives. They're kind of just wandering around aimlessly.
Guys, something's going on. Something's going on, guys. Guys, something's going on. Guys. Guys, something's going on.
Okay, so that's, supposedly chaos and panic, and it just looks like a lot of confused people because they don't even know that there's an active drill going on because there likely wasn't even an active drill. Now, let's jump to this clip. If you didn't see it already, I have to put it in here, which is the blind leading the blind. We have a blind woman who was interviewed as a witness. That's right. Did you know that blind people could be witnesses? Eyewitness. I'm sure they called her an eyewitness too. Right? Because they can say whatever they want. Nobody's paying attention now. I mean, they literally could have somebody up there who's blind telling you what they see. But this is so funny because this woman looks directly in the camera and then looks directly at the people on her side. So she's not, this is not what a blind person does. But take a look at the blind person.
And for you, I mean, what was that like, not seeing anyone, Jaden or Chrissy here? I mean, what was going through your mind?
Scared. Thank God there was somebody that helped me get to safety with my vision. I am legally blind, but a young man helped me. And then out of nowhere, Jaden popped up, asked me where I've been. Before I knew what was going on, I had him. I approached him and I'm like, don't you ever scare me like that again. And then we went off and found his mom.
And for you, I mean, you told me, you said you're legally blind, but you heard the gunshots. I mean, what was going through your mind? I can't imagine.
This one gentleman, he was like, hey, shots fired. I'm like, I am legally blind. Can you please just help me get safety? He took me by my arm and he just took charge. And I'm extremely grateful for him. If he's watching, thank you.
And how are you feeling right now? Are you kind of at calm or at ease? What's going through your mind right now?
Relief that my kid's okay.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Hug each other a little bit tighter tonight.
And I am legally blind, but a young man helped me. And then if he's watching, thank you.
And you said you're legally blind, but you heard the gunshots. I mean, what was going through your mind? I can't imagine.
And if he's watching, thank you.
And
So that's a little bit of duping to life, but then we get this. This is classic. Now, this is a guy who was at the event, who was at the parade, who is just home. He decided that he was going to call in to CBS Mornings because somehow CBS Morning found him, right? What did they do? They called the hospitals. Well, he's at his home, so he wasn't in the hospital. But he claims he was shot in the foot and broke his foot. Now, that's an awfully quick recovery. He also claims his wife and his kids were shot, too. Well, they're upstairs sleeping in bed. And, the lies just escalate in the video, and he can't keep his lies straight as he looks off camera at his supposed wife or his handler or his master mason to his side for more talking points. But this guy can't even keep his story straight. He's telling you that he's going back to the hospital, yet he's not seemingly in pain, and he's on the morning news. So just look at this. This is up there for me personally as one of the funniest crisis videos I've ever seen from an actual, government-created event. Look at this guy.
We are once again, here we go, struggling to make sense of a mass, senseless shooting in this country. This time, it happened at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. It was a family event meant to be a celebration. As you know by now, when it was all over, one person was dead and more than 20 others were wounded, including the man we are speaking with now. His name is Jacob Gooch Sr. His wife and his son were also shot. Jacob Gooch, thank you for joining us. I see you there in your Kansas City Chiefs sweatshirt. I was thinking about all the people there.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
So I'm very sorry that this has happened to your family and the people of Kansas City. I worked in that city. I know this city very well, and I'm curious about how you were processing all of this morning.
I haven't even begun to process this morning. I mean, it's just crazy. We're all still in shock right now.
Yeah.
Not understanding what even happened for real, but I've got to get back to the hospital.
Mr. Gooch, where were you all? Did you see the shooter? Did you see what exactly happened?
I personally did not see the shooter. I heard the altercation of the girl who said like, "Don't do it, not here, this is stupid," or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And then the gunshots, which at the time I thought were fireworks, but turned out.
Wow, Mr. Gooch, I mean, if you were close enough to hear somebody say, presumably to the shooter, "Don't do this, this is stupid." I mean, what was the sound of the gunfire like? And also, where were your family struck? Where were you and your 13-year-old hit?
My wife and daughter saw the gun come out and start shooting. They said
Wow.
they saw it, but we said, "Where was I hit?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but tell us about them seeing it. That's incredibly close.
My daughter said that some lady was like holding them back, and people had started backing up, and then he pulled it out and just started shooting and spinning in a circle. That's what they said.
Where are your wife and children now, Mr. Gooch?
My wife is sitting right next to me, and my daughter is in bed. My kids are in bed.
So what kind of wounds did they sustain?
My daughter didn't get shot. My son got shot, and my wife got shot. She got shot in her calf.
Wow.
It went straight through, so she's fine. My son is left with a bullet in his foot, and I got shot directly in the ankle and broke a couple metatarsal bones in the foot.
You know, this is supposed to be a time of celebration for your family and for the city. When you were going to the parade, did you have any concerns at all? We know security was extremely tight. Did you see anything suspicious? Did you have any concerns when you were going and when you were there?
I mean, when I was there, I mean, not when I was going or anything, we actually talked about it, and I'm like, it's just a bunch of happy people. Nothing's going to happen. And, about 15 minutes before it actually did happen, I got suspicious of a certain group of people that were there. We were standing on the side that we were standing on, where the left side of the stage where the shooting ended up happening. And right before it ended up happening, there was this group dressed in all black, about 4, 5, 6 kids, looked like kids, with black masks, and they disappeared into the crowd. And then the show ended, and as soon as we started walking out, it happened. And I wasn't a good witness. I didn't see anything. I got
Mr. Gooch, I mean, in a sea of people wearing those red Kansas City Chief jerseys, this group must have stood out. I mean, as a person from Missouri, from Kansas City, what's your read on people in all black with masks? Is that a gang situation? Is that some other kind of thing? Are those local people?
Not a clue. I actually live in Leavenworth, Kansas, but I mean, I had a feeling. I don't know that they're even the ones that did it, but I did have a feeling, to answer the question.
Wow.
We're glad that you and your family are all right.
So
One
glad.
family is waking up. They've lost their everything this morning. The Galvan family, we're thinking about them today.
So not only that, did you hear how he had said his daughter was the one who explained to him what was happening? No idea how he didn't know, but then his daughter heard what was happening. Then he calls his daughter they. Just listen to this clip again. He says, that's what they told me.
My daughter said that some lady was like holding him back, and people had started backing up, and then he pulled it out and just started shooting and spinning in a circle. That's what they said.
Do we have to put up with this? Can't we get a better actor? I know it's a small part, but I think we can do better than this.
Right, so was that your daughter that told you, or they? And who is they? Well, that would be his handlers, or his high-ranking local Freemason priest, or his master mason, right? So another thing to note is what you heard in this interview. I'm going to show you repetition as well. Multiple news anchors are using this narrative. Don't do it. This is stupid. Before the guy opens fire in a circle. Listen.
But we do have new clues that are emerging from an interview done within the past hour on CBS Mornings out of New York, when a survivor of this shooting said that right before one person opened fire, he heard an altercation where somebody nearby, a couple meters away from him, said, "Don't do it, not here. This is stupid," taking a direct quotation from that interview that just happened. And then somebody pulled out a gun and started firing in a circle. I mean, if you can only imagine what that must have been like for this survivor, who also told CBS Mornings that he was shot. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Did you see the shooter? Did you see what exactly happened?
I personally did not see the shooter. I heard the altercation of a girl who said, like, "Don't do it, not here, this is stupid," or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And then the gunshots, which at the time I thought were fireworks, but turned out
Wow,
it's
Mr.
not.
Gooch,
So it's crazy how all these news anchors and then all these people, they just happen to know the exact quote that was ushered out of somebody's mouth. Now, do you ever go to a store and have a conversation with someone and even remember word for word what someone says? Now, you're telling me that the shooter was saying this, and somehow that information was relayed to all these people, right? And it's trending. People are saying it. Don't do it. This is stupid. This is a form and technique of mind control. This is being repeated, and nobody notices, because they don't know how mind control works, that there's a script being used by the local news media. They're all reporting this same exact story as if they have an eyewitness that they just spoke to, and all the media outlets just happen to get fed the same script to use the talking point. It's like Sinclair Broadcasting Group, right? And I love the whole thing about the notion of walking around in a circle, because part of the narrative they're trying to push is because they want you now to apparently think that some of these things could just be any civilian with a gun who has mental health problems or gets in a dispute with his wife. So this guy was in a dispute with somebody and then just decided to shoot all the people around him, not his wife who he was in a dispute with. So you tell me how that makes sense. But he decided that, my wife's really getting on my nerves. I'm just going to walk around in a circle with a gun and just start shooting people in a circle. Here we go. I'm going in a circle shooting people, right? And then what's even funnier is the fact that supposedly the footage is civilians tackling the guy, right? Now, first of all, how do you pull an AR-15 out of your pocket? Like, nobody knew the guy had an AR-15? Oh, he's in what is he wearing? Like an Eskimo coat, hiding an AR-15 in there, right? And then on top of it, he's doing this, then he stops and civilians actually take him down. Yeah, that sounds like it makes perfect sense because, the FBI was actually noted as being there. Now, this is where it gets funny. Because you'll hear countless supposed victims who were there talking about seeing the FBI. Now, these people might have actually been there and just might be actually reporting the real news, which was the FBI was on the scene. So you might say, well, it's a big parade. The FBI should be there, right? Well, let me ask you this. If the FBI was there and they didn't stop an active shooter, then what was the FBI doing? Because isn't that why the FBI would be there, that to prevent this from occurring? And on top of that, even if you want to say, well, the guy got some rounds off, then the FBI took him out. Well, the FBI aren't the ones that took him out. It was civilians supposedly that tackled him. But here they are slipping how the FBI was in attendance.
That you saw police actually swarming something.
So when I was leaving, and I don't remember if my other friends were still with me or not at the time because it kind of blurred.
It did.
But when we were heading west, trying to get back and away from it, we saw the police swarm a stairwell, and then we heard another pop from there, and that's when I was like, okay, we're gone.
Time to move. Similar situation.
Same. Yes, I was on the probably to her right. Probably on her right side when everything was going on. And then so we kind of circled back, but then all of the people in FBI and police, they were all like, okay, everybody has to go that way.
So the FBI is in attendance, right? And the job of the FBI would be to do what? Oh, right. Well, what do we bring the FBI in for? Are they all Chiefs fans? Was the FBI walking around wearing Patrick Mahomes jerseys and waving Chiefs flags? Oh, they were brought in for what? Oh, they were brought in for security, right? Oh, but the civilian was able to sneak in a weapon without FBI knowing. Oh, okay. And the civilians were the ones who stopped the supposed shooter, not the actual FBI. Could it be that the FBI were the ones setting off the fireworks? Maybe they went to a 4th of July store in Delaware before the big event here, and they flew in and they said, hey, we're going to set some fireworks off at the parade. And then everyone's going to run around aimlessly because they're going to be confused if it's fireworks. And then we're going to yell, shots fired, shots fired. And everyone's going to believe it because they're in hypnosis and they don't know what's going on, right? So then we get this guy. Listen to this guy. This guy is heartbroken. He's one of the people who helped tackle the shooter. And thankfully, as one of the people who helped tackle the shooter, he made sure to call into NBC Good Morning America so that he could tell his story on the news, even though he's really choked up about it. And he's holding back tears, but he couldn't get a look at the guy's face because this also fits into the narrative about what skin color, was it illegal? That's the narrative that's going to continue to play out too. But this guy is just really choked up and emotional, but he decided to come on the news this morning, and the acting is, it is cringeworthy.
We are joined by Paul Contreras and his daughter Alyssa. As you saw in the piece, Paul was one of those parade goers, sprang into action once that gunfire erupted. Paul, Alyssa, good morning. Paul, it looked super chaotic. Will you just take us into that moment and what made you decide to spring into action?
It was just a reaction. He was running against the wrong way. And there was another gentleman saying, just screaming out of the top of his lungs, catch this guy, tackle him. And I heard him, and I really wasn't sure until he came running, and I had a perfect angle to do what I did, and I did what I did. I took him down, and as I took him down, I seen I seen the weapon, the gun fall to the ground. So when I hit him, whether I hit it out of his hand or it fell out of his jacket, because he was wearing a big bulky jacket, I seen it. When I was taking him down, I seen the weapon fall to the ground. So I knew right then and there, I'm like, okay, he's got one weapon, but this one's on the ground. He may have another one. I need to take him to the ground, and I need to keep him on the ground.
So there's some cringeworthy acting. And then we get this guy. This might be one of my favorites as well. I got a couple more for you, but you got to see this one. All right, so here is a guy who's in attendance. This guy is military, and he's in attendance, and he said it sounded like fireworks too. And of course, he's, he looked around, and, well, the interviewer was just asking questions about, could you ever expect to go to a parade and have this happen to you? Well, what do you expect the people to say? Well, of course not. So this is all mind control. They're all asking these questions. All the reporters, did you ever think it could happen to you? Did you ever think that maybe it happened to you? Did you ever think it could happen to you? Did you think when you came today to the parade you were going to get shot? Oh, well, clearly they didn't think that, or they probably would have come armed, right? But they obviously knew that some event was going down because they were strategically placed on national television. So listen to this military veteran.
So it was initially when we were about to exit the rally, it just ended. And so you hear the gunshots and, initially in my head, I was like, oh, fireworks. But then it clicked. Yeah, I was in the military. So then immediately it clicked. I was like, oh, no, that's gunshots. And I was like, oh, gunshots. And I
looked at each other and ran towards.
Yeah, we looked down and you could see the crowd start to run away. And then we saw people start to drop to, we saw people drop to the ground, and it was just a surreal event.
Astor, had you ever thought before today, because there are a lot of shootings in America, have you ever thought, if I'm in a situation like that, this is what I'd do?
No, I don't think anything can really prepare you for what you're going to do in that situation. I can't imagine this ever happening, but we ended up being right there.
And Austin, you mentioned you were in the. Sorry, go ahead, Astor.
Oh, I said our first thought was just to help.
Did you know, Astor, where the shooting was coming from, or was it just a sense of chaos and mayhem?
I don't know if I know exactly where the shots came from, but I could hear the general area and I saw people go down.
And Austin, what was your reaction? You said you'd been in the military. Had you, what kicked in your mind? Had you ever thought something like this might happen, that you would be around gunfire?
So, we go through active shooter training every year and everything like that. So,
of course, in addition to that, this military veteran has a message about your prayers. Okay, for those of you that follow my work over the years, I have shown you piles of repetition at these shootings where they come out and talk about your prayers meaning nothing. Your prayers don't mean anything anymore. Stop praying for these people. They're clearly also pulling towards conservatives because they want conservatives to agree to these mental health red flag laws. And conservatives are going to start falling for it because they're going to say, well, a lot of these shooters are these trans people, and we already know that they're crazy. So, yeah, we should agree to it because we can't let guns go into their hands. So they're going to go into churches and shoot up Christians, right? So, all right, we'll agree to the red flag laws. Meanwhile, the rules that'll be in place will have nothing to do with trans people. It'll only be rules in place for people like us. Anyone who is and anyone they consider conspiracy theorists, anyone who's anti-communism, okay, anti-globalism, will be people with red flag laws will come to your home and and take your guns. But Christians and conservatives will be duped into this because they'll think that Christians are under attack because of these trans shooters, and they'll say, well, we need mental health to make sure that these people don't get guns. So listen to the military guy, listen to the crisis actor from earlier's daughter, some of the other talking heads on TV, and how they seem to know this talking point because it was fed to them. It is the 48th shooting in 45 days, and somehow even some of the crisis people know that it's the 48th and 45 because that was on their mind when they went to the event, right? All right, it's being fed to them because this is a script, and these are actors playing roles. Look.
Had you ever thought something like this might happen, that you would be around gunfire?
So, we go through active shooter training every year and everything like that. So, immediately I recognized it as that. We waited until the scene kind of cleared out, with the crowd running. And my first instinct was to just, after I saw everything was clear, I didn't see the shooter in the vicinity. We just ran down and tried to see if we could help out the victims. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get there and help out before paramedics arrived. So thankfully, the paramedics arrived quickly. So that was a blessing, but it just, your fight or flight kind of just kicks in.
Austin, very briefly, you were shaking your head.
It's appalling at this point. At what point do we quit with the, bluntly, thoughts and prayers? Obviously, it's not helping. This is a epidemic in America. We're in February. 48 mass shootings, not even 2 full months of the year is ridiculous. And it just keeps getting worse year in and year out. And, I own guns at home. So, but something has to change.
This is the 48th shooting in 45 days in the United States. You were witnesses to one of them. Can you just let us know what you think of those stats?
It's crazy how we've gone through only 45 days and there's more shootings than the days we've had this year.
Second month of the year.
It just shows, how much gun violence is really, tearing apart our world and our communities, whether it's schools, work, grocery stores, and even parades. It's just sad you have to put things like this in the back of your mind that now there is a chance it could happen.
48th mass shooting.
Here we are again saying the same things, right? When will enough be enough? And, I have people who were very, very close to me at that parade yesterday, right? At that rally. Some of them work for the Chiefs. Some of them live in Kansas City and were there as fans. And I have been very fortunate to be one of probably the few Americans who has not been directly touched by a senseless act of gun violence. But I got damn close yesterday. I got really damn close. And, it makes me angry. And it would make me angry anyway. Anytime I hear something like this, it makes me angry, and the theme of thoughts and prayers is not enough. Right? We need action. And I think there are those of us in this country who really believe that. And there are not enough of us who really want to see those things put into action. And by not enough of us, I mean those of us who are in positions of power, who are in government. So yeah, Mike, I'm ticked off. I am.
Well, and you're feeling that certain way, and we're in Canada, and the laws are still on our side in that way. In the U.S., I just don't know what it's going to take for them to actually revisit some of these gun laws, because you said that stat. It's the 48th shooting, and they're 47 days in. This is these are children that are being injured. And now we're seeing it replayed over and over again on social media. Thank goodness for some of the bravery of some of the people who were there. We saw just pedestrians, people at the parade tackle one of the shooters. But to now see that kind of crowd, and for the first response there not to be celebration, but for it to be fear, really shows where we're at in our society.
So 40, I couldn't get over that. 48, 45 days. And your prayers, folks, your prayers don't work, okay? We can't pray about it anymore. We need to bring in more laws because people want to go to concerts and don't want to be bothered anymore by crazy people running around shooting people that they have no affiliation with no motive whatsoever. That way, when the government decides that it's really going to go full in on this rogue New World Order, takeover that's going on, then nobody will be able to arm themselves against them. And again, that's why the government constantly talks about AR-15. You might hear Biden using these quotes about, well, we have private jets, we have fighter jets. What do they do? Fight an F-15. They fear numbers. They fear armed civilians over anything. And, like I've been saying on the website and other places over the years, nobody, if you look at Australia, talk to people in Australia, Talk to the same people in China, ones that aren't under full-on mind control. They're miserable. And they're miserable because the government has taken to the point where people aren't even allowed to board planes if they don't get potions in their body, if they don't consent to, allowing their kids to castrate themselves. This is what we're headed towards. And the government does, a lot of you go, well, they don't really fear civilians who are armed. They do, though, because basic rules of war tell us that numbers will always win in any war, especially when you outnumber them by billions. We outnumber them in billions if you look at this from an earthly perspective of how many civilians are on the earth. Okay, if you want to look at it from this country, we have roughly over 320 million people. There are not 320 million of them, which is part of the reason that they have pretty much psychologically armed Democrats into doing their bidding of trying to get us unarmed. When in reality, if people weren't in a left-right divide, Democrats would see the tyranny on both sides, the Trump side and the Biden side. They would arm up as well to protect themselves, the things they own, and their families, right? So there's more of us than them by a lot. So even if people died in a battle, it would be something worth dying for, because your freedom is worth dying for, especially when they're trying to force nano stuff into your body. So this event is unbelievable. You might have even heard the girl talking, the daughter. She was like, millions of people were running at the parade. Millions of, this is just this is the mindset we have. Was that millions of people? I didn't know millions of people could attend a parade. It was like it was a couple thousand people. But of course, it's millions because they always make these things bigger than they are. Right? That's why they give you those overhead shots of how many people are at the parade. You see the media just running with those. But some of the stuff is just surreal, right? So the talking points are the same, right? I've been talking about this for years. Groceries, malls, all these places where you used to feel safe. They want you to go and not feel safe. They don't want you to arm to protect yourself. They want to do the other thing. They want to de-arm civilians, especially of AR-15s, because that's a weapon that the government fears if civilians have, that they would be able to do something to stop their military taking over, enforcing martial law on the civilians. Then you had the blind woman talking, right? Then you had the crisis actor whose daughter was shot. Son was shot. People were shot. He wasn't sure if his daughter was shot or his son was shot. His daughter told him something, and then he said that they told him that somebody was there and yelled, "Stop, or my mom will shoot." Oh, I'm sorry. They yelled, "Don't do it. This is stupid." And then circled around, because they have to make sure they say they circled around with a gun, because it could be so random like that a guy with a vendetta who's ready to go to jail for the rest of his life or be killed just decides to shoot random innocent people and then do it in a circular motion like it's a video game, right? The guy was looking off camera and duping delight. The things that these people, how people fall for it is beyond me, right? What their talking points, it's scripted. The FBI mentioned as being there, right? So if the FBI is there, then why aren't civilians protected? Oh, because the FBI is so good, but they couldn't even stop it. All right, there's not security checkpoints there. You can't really go anywhere without walking through a metal detector. So fine, you want to say it's the streets so people randomly walked up? Well, that's part of the illusion they want to create, right? But the FBI was there. They weren't even the ones who apprehended the shooters, right? So what were they doing? Eating hot dogs and pretzels? Oh, right, they were setting off firecrackers. We know that much. And then you had the military guy who was there and the talking heads talking about how prayers do nothing, right? Prayers do nothing. What we need is action, and what we need to do, because we want to go to concerts and feel safe. Well, if you want to feel safe at concerts, tell the United States government to stop effing with your brain. Tell the United States government to stop stop sending agencies to all these events to create, these events. Then you could go to the parade and have fun. Or you could tell the government to stop doing experiments on human minds. Right? The Nuremberg Code, all these things that we've seen over the years that have been exposed as far as illegal operations where the government is doing mind control experiments on people. What do you think they're for? Oh, to create people to go and do these events. They're called Manchurian candidates, right? So tell the government to stop doing that, and then maybe you can go to the grocery store and feel safe. Now, the other thing you could do if you don't feel so safe is you can arm yourself up, learn how to use, arm yourself and prepare yourself, and when you're out in public, maybe stay off your phone and actually be in the physical realm. Okay, and actually be walking around observing behavior, observing people, so you're not caught off guard and this doesn't happen to you. But those are things they don't want you to think about. They just want you to unarm civilians so that the government can continue their hostile takeover of the United States of America. I thank everybody for being here. Again, this video is probably going to get a strike, but what can you do, right? I thank you all for being here. And again, this is a video for the website, so if I'm saying strike, if I do end up uploading it to YouTube, I'm leaning towards yes for the heck of doing it. But thank you to everybody who is here on the website. I appreciate all of you. There's more content to come about this event as more information is released. Thanks again, everybody. God bless all of you and your families.